Welcome to the Bad News for June 24th, 2025. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill with a provision prohibiting the payment of taxes to terrorists, which will stop the transfer of cash to the Taliban. Timothy Burchett, Vice Chairman of the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee, announced the passage of this bill in a post on his official social media. This bill, which was previously voted on in the House earlier this month in 2023, requires the U.S. State Department to develop and implement a strategy to prevent financial and material support from foreign countries and non-governmental organizations to the Taliban.
Misery should be remembered as a memory, for Afghanistan is currently experiencing the worst economic and social conditions. According to statistics and reports published by the United Nations, especially by the WFP, this year in Afghanistan, due to drought, poverty, and severe financial difficulties, nearly 42.2% of the country's population is living under the poverty line and facing hunger. The majority of the country's population suffering from poverty and severe hunger lives in rural areas, with 80% of those 42% living below the poverty line residing in villages. This issue is also a major aspect of the fundamental problem. Despite this, in the midst of these ongoing conditions in the country, the United States unfortunately halted the $1.8 billion in aid that was being provided to Afghanistan through USAID in June of this year. And as the representative of the Democratic Party in Parliament announced, this aid has unfortunately been completely cut off in the United States starting this month. This issue also leads to an increase in poverty, hardship, and disease in Afghanistan. According to WHO reports, nearly 200 health centers in Afghanistan have ceased operations. And in most centers, vaccination activities for children and the treatment of childhood diseases are being disrupted. Additionally, assistance is provided to families. This in itself is a new problem, as unfortunately, with the suspension of aid from the United States and top-up financial assistance for the people-most all health services, which were largely supported by the United Nations, have now been significantly weakened.
Joyce Msia, Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs at the United Nations, stated at a UN Security Council meeting that the people of Afghanistan are facing ongoing and severe humanitarian needs. She emphasized that decades of war, structural poverty, climate crises, widespread restrictions on women and girls, and a sharp decrease in funding have made the situation even more critical. According to Msia, 1 out of every 5 Afghans is facing hunger, and about 3.6 million children are deprived of going to school, of which 2.2 million are girls over the age of 11 who are not allowed to study due to restrictions imposed by the Taliban. According to official statistics from the Taliban's Ministry of Education, the group has established 12 jihadist religious schools in 6 different provinces of Afghanistan over the past 3 months. These schools have been built or had their foundation stones laid in the provinces of Ghazni, Paktia, Kandahar, Badakhshan, Faryab, and Panjshir. The statistics show that the construction of these schools tripled in the month of Zarin, but decreased in the month of Jawza. During this same period, the foundation stone for a school costing $1.5 million Afghanis was laid in Jarman district of Kandahar province, and the construction of classrooms for another school in Argun district of Paktika province began with a budget of over 1 million Afghanis. Human rights activists warn that the expansion of such schools could pave the way for individualism in Afghanistan. According to them, graduates of these schools, in addition to being inclined toward violence, will lack the necessary skills to enter the job market and participate in the country's development.
Moreover, there has been misuse of public assets, particularly in the area of childhood vaccination, specifically polio. Out of the $100 million that the United States had provided in aid, nearly $19 million of it was misused within the Ministry of Public Health. Fortunately, those responsible were apprehended and punished. The misuse of public assets, such as using government vehicles to transport pilgrims for private events and for their own homes, is unfortunately one of the issues present in the current government.
Local sources from several provinces of Afghanistan told Zarin Global Television that members of the Taliban group, after returning from the Hajj pilgrimage, have used ranger vehicles and other government resources to transport their family members and relatives. According to reports, these actions have been observed in the provinces of Kandahar, Helmand, Paktia, Nangarhar, Khost, and several other provinces. These sources also added that the Taliban used government funds during the Hajj pilgrimage as well, and many officials from this group have hosted parties for their guests after returning from Hajj, using government money. In addition, there are reports that members of this group have also used government vehicles for weddings and other personal occasions. Sources say that most members of the Taliban consider the vehicles left over from the previous Afghan government as spoils of war and use them for personal purposes. Since the fall of the republic to the Taliban, hundreds of vehicles from government offices have either been left unused or are now being used by Taliban fighters.
Unfortunately, since the establishment of the caretaker government by the Taliban, up until around 2025, nearly 23,000 new madrasas have been built, which focus solely on Islamic and elementary meaning suicide education. In just the past 3 years, and especially in the current year alone, nearly 20,000 new madrasas have been established, which is a significant increase in itself. They have converted nearly 1,000 schools into madrasas, and this process is ongoing. In Kabul city alone, approximately 500 new madrasas teaching suicide and elementary education have been established. These are among the most prominent examples. Unfortunately, they exist. Ethnic discrimination, racial discrimination, and gender discrimination are other major issues. It exists within the government. In addition to the fact that girls and young women are not allowed to attend school above the 7th grade, women's employment in society has been banned. And in almost all sectors, social, cultural, economic, political, governmental, and even in United Nations agencies, women are prohibited from working. And this in itself is a great tragedy. The rise in illiteracy in society is intensifying, and nearly 7 to 8 million young people in Afghanistan have been almost completely deprived of education and learning.
Continuing with summary trials and punishments in public, the Taliban Supreme Court announced that a man in Iskopol province was punished in public on charges of being a mercenary and committing rape. This individual received 20 lashes in front of local men. According to the published statement, in addition to corporal punishment, this man was also sentenced to 5 months in prison and ordered to pay 5,000 Afghanis for the medical expenses of the injured person. Reports indicate that the number of summary trials and corporal punishments carried out by the Taliban has increased in recent months. These practices continue despite widespread criticism from the international community. In the social media users' joke section, a photo of a Taliban official is being shared in which the deputy governor of the Taliban in Farah has done something strange and has also shown a speaker in the cabinet. In this photo, the Taliban deputy governor has placed a motorcycle seat as a backrest behind his desk and, leaning back on it, is talking to visitors. End of the news.